So most of the time when I record on this particular podcast, it's for fun and comedy and free-spirited craziness and just a whole lot of stuff that ends up being very comedic. A lot of just a way to forget your troubles and just have some fun for a little while. Unfortunately, this episode is a bit more somber in nature. Uh, my father-in-law, Stanley Lieberstein, passed away yesterday, January 27th. I was in an airplane coming home from Florida because that's where he lived. My wife, Lara, was there. He was having some trouble, and without going into too much detail, he did not want to get surgery. It was his will. That's just what he wanted. And the family, his daughter, his son, I, his his family, they got it because he had been having some trouble for a while, and she just said, it's my time. This is what I want. I don't want to get surgery. I don't want to do rehab. It's my will. And so today, I'm just going to say a few words about him, about his life, about the impact he had on my life, certainly the impact that he had on my wife and my brother-in-law, Lance. I met him 7 years ago, 7.5 years ago in 2017. And, he was already not in the best health. And a few things happened, and he he just ended up worse and worse. And he always knew what he wanted. He always knew what he wanted. He had a bout like this maybe a year and a half ago, and he was ready to call it quits then too. But my wife, then my fiance, flew down to Florida and said, I need you alive to walk me down the aisle. And he said, sure, okay, I'll do it for you. When it happened again this time, my wife tried to get him to get the surgery again, go through the rehab again, and his response was, I kept my promise to you, kid. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he wanted, and he knew what he didn't want. He didn't want to continue living his life the way that he was. He had a daughter who was my wife, Lara, a son. He had two granddaughters, uh, and, and an enormous support system. People who loved him, including myself, and he knew that. He knew that, and he had, I guess, just fulfilled everything that he wanted in his life. You know, I guess you could say he quit while he was ahead. But I just remember, we went to visit him in Florida, um, just a couple of months ago. It was in November, and he was up. He had a prosthetic leg. He had his right leg amputated in I believe it was 2018, and he was walking with a prosthetic leg. And one of the greatest things about him, and this is by no means the absolute greatest thing about him, but one of the things that I'll always remember that, I would always kind of tease him about is that I would get up in the morning. Hey, good morning, John. You want some eggs? No, I'm good. Thank you. You sure? Yeah, yeah, I don't need any eggs. "Oh, okay. A couple minutes later. You sure you don't want any eggs?" And it would get to the point where I would say, you know what? Fine, make me some eggs. Because it seems you really want to make me eggs. And this happened almost every morning. We would go through the same old song and dance about the eggs and oh, you want some toast and you want some butter and all these things that I don't normally eat. I ate because it just made him so happy to be able to provide a breakfast of eggs and toast. And the things that he was always just such a so accepting and loving of everything, things that he didn't understand. He said, "You know what? If it makes you happy, that's what I care about." And we had a good dynamic, me and Stanley. Um, I mean, what else can I say? Was he was just someone who wanted the people around him to have what they needed, to have what they wanted. And he was a bit too ambitious with his limitations. He was doing yard work. He would do things like step up on ladders when he wasn't supposed to and all that stuff. And he would wear himself out. And I guess his mindset was, if I can't do it, I don't want someone else to do it for me. And that's just what he did. And I'll always remember the we would play Scrabble. Unfortunately, the last, I don't know, couple of times that I was there, it was during crunch time at school for me, studying for finals, doing reports and stuff. And he understood, but Lara and I and Stanley, we loved to play Scrabble. I was not very good at it. I think I usually lost. One time I won. Stanley was incredible at Scrabble and keeping score. Funny enough, he was very, very thorough about that. And I would say even the stuff that he did that was annoying was still endearing. Like Lara and I would be sitting on the couch watching a movie in his living room with the lights off. He would come out, flick on all the lights, start making a racket in the kitchen, getting his dinner ready, and we paused the movie that we were watching, and he said, "Hey man, don't turn off the movie on my account. I don't mind." And we were like, "Well, we need you to stop making so much noise and turn the lights off." And he's like, "Oh, okay, man." And you know what? I don't think we got back to the movie because, once he's out, you get to talking and we would watch Jeopardy together. He was also amazing at knowing most of the correct responses on Jeopardy. He was sharp. He was sharp as a tack. And it was just a sad thing, to see him just, like I said, everything that he had wanted to do, everything that he, I guess, felt that he was put on this earth for, he had done. He had fulfilled. And he saw no reason to put himself through more pain, more physical exhaustion, so he could continue living the way that he was living. And I don't want to go on for too long about this, but he really was a great presence in my life, even though I only saw him maybe a couple of times a year. Those times, oh, they will always hold a special place in my heart. And and I'm gonna miss him. I really am. It's a sad thing to know that I will never be saying, "Hey Stan," when Lara's talking to him on speakerphone. Oh, hey John, how's it going? How's school? How's your folks? Those of you who don't know, small talk has never been a forte of mine, and everyone, everyone who knows me, they know that I hate the question, "How's your folks?" Because I never know how to answer it. Yeah, they're good. They exist. How do I exist? Excuse me, how do I answer? How's your folks? But, you know, the last time I saw him, well, other than over this past weekend, I'm so sorry, my throat is phlegmy. The last time I saw him, other than this past weekend, he asked me to help give him a haircut, which is basically just kind of, buzz his hair down. I guess, it's easier for someone else to do it than for him to do it himself. And, while I'm buzzing his hair, he goes, "Oh, yeah, I meant to ask, how's your folks?" And I couldn't help but laugh because I don't think he ever knew that that I'm like, how do I answer that question? I hate that question, but it's funny every time someone asks me, and people ask me, "How's your folks?" They're good. My folks are good. So in case anyone wants to know, my folks are good. So I guess that about wraps it up. Um, Anyone who knew him probably knows what I'm talking about, and those of you who didn't know him, I hope I was able to give you some kind of an insight. He was a family member, and it's hard to lose a family member, especially one who just became my father-in-law less than a year ago. It's it's rough. It's been a rough few days, but especially because he just died yesterday, but we knew it was coming. So, I'm glad I got to see him. I'm glad I got to say goodbye. And Stan, I love you and I will miss you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this. And we'll be talking at you next time on Bullshit Hour. Good night or day or whatever.